finally got into a habit of waiting for this for a few seconds before I start saying anything of any substance. So I'll wait until some more of you get on here. The lighting's a little different than normal. I decided, and normally I use a an actual video camera light on the other side of the room, or maybe several of them depending upon what I'm doing. But up against these white walls, or beige walls, I guess they really are, or some other places, I just get washed out. Actually, I could probably stand even less light than is here now. Let's see if this helps. That's even better, isn't it? I like that even better. Hi, everybody. All right, great. All right. You're probably wondering what's going on when I label a live stream on YouTube threats and counter threats. And let's see, where do I begin? We're going to go along with Trump being out of the country. We're going to be talking about Mueller and his team of investigators and what's apparently happening there. Everything I'm going to say here tonight, with the exception of maybe one of two things, a lot of other people are putting together from, I can't even name them all. Okay, they're just finally getting it. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. And I'll take some questions after I get through this. It shouldn't be too long. Scott Anthony, who has been very much involved in this with me, broke something here as well. And that's one of the new things that we're going to present to you. It might not sound significant, but if you understand codes and messages, it's very important. Okay. All right, so let me get back started here. Of course, we've got the Las Vegas thing going. Believe it or not, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. And we're going to move right along to a situation which a lot of you might already know about to one degree or another. There's been a lot of talk on a lot of channels, a lot of investigators, a lot of people about the Q clearance Patriot on 4chan. Now, it's very true that 4chan is not the best place to get, well, it's really no place to get source information. It really isn't. And so investigators that say that are correct. However, it is a great place to post things kind of innocuously, where people don't, especially and I'm not saying necessarily in the intel community, but you can post things on 4chan and those who are supposed to get the message will. And it works a lot like the intelligence community used to use, and they still do, like newspapers, or in the case I'm going to show you today, where newspapers and even television, in the narrative that is put out on the monitors that the reporters are reading, there are codes in there that the CIA writes in, okay, because they all work for the CIA. I think most people probably figure that as well, okay? So that's kind of what we're looking at, and that's how 4chan has been used this time. I don't know who Q is. If any of you know what I'm talking about, well, let me give you a little more background in case you're not aware. Okay, about around the first, it was not long after the Vegas shooting, we started seeing, actually it was quite a bit after, it was a few weeks, around the 31st of October, we started seeing posts on 4chan from a person, or I'm going to call it a team, because that's what I believe it is. I believe it's a team, and there are a lot of reasons why I think that. It's not a very big team, but they called themselves Q Clearance Patriot. And it poses as one person, but as I've said, these things are usually teams of one sort or another. I don't want to speculate here on who I think that is, because there are a number of people, and a couple of them might be very surprising if we're correct on that. But that's not even important at this point. What's important is that this information was coming out on 4chan, and could it be what they call a LARP, live action role play? Somebody just goofing off? Maybe, but so much of it has been corroborated over the last few weeks as things would happen. And even Q said that, this poster on 4chan, that keep the running chart and watch what happens, and then you can refer back to the events and see that they had already been forecast by Q and this team. And he also said, or they also said, that there would have to be disinformation mixed in with the good information to throw off the decoders and, of course, the CIA. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. Anyway, this person or this team is apparently, according to what we're seeing, claims to be allied with Trump and is actually Trump's team that's doing this. Okay, they're part of his team. Now, Admiral Rogers was brought in to the Trump office early on. He wasn't fired. He was kept, even with all the problems that we have with the NSA. And so something happened here. The NSA is primarily a military organization. That's how it's used. As a matter of fact, the Admiral Rogers, runs it, and he's an active duty admiral. Not saying that can't happen in the other agencies, but that's kind of how it's set up. Now, from the beginning, from the Boston bombing, since that time, actually even before that, because I've talked about it before, but the Boston bombing, as I keep repeating, was the first evidence of a real war in the government outside of the Kennedy assassination and things like that, okay? And, there were others, but this was pretty blatant when I watched it, and it was real obvious to me. It was primarily between the CIA and the FBI, and it's when they were still trying to, the CIA had infiltrated the FBI, and at this point they needed to show who was in charge. And so that's why the FBI was acting like it didn't know what was going on when it was in the thick of it, because they have so many CIA operatives in it, just like the DOD does. And I talked about that when I was on active duty in the Army and reserves and everything else. I ran into these people from the CIA. Some of them admitted it because I was working in a military intelligence capacity at the time. But when I wasn't, they wouldn't admit it. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So the point is, what's this? Jesus is my king. Listen to you while cleaning my SIG P229. Great handgun, great weapon. Yeah, that's one of the better ones. Okay, so that's kind of the background on some of this. So what we're seeing here is a set of rhetorical, Socratic type of questions that are being placed out by these intel people who say they're in support of Trump. Basically, that's what they're saying, and that this is actually a Trump operation. Now, why would I talk about it if that's true? Wouldn't we be unveiling something that they wouldn't want the enemy to know about? Well, that's the thing. You can't hide these things from the intel community. They're going to figure it out, even on all the secure communications on Air Force One and all that. There's just no way to do it. As a matter of fact, most of this had to be done in secret, apparently by Trump, away from the White House, or at least in a new area of the White House where they had, swept through it and totally revamped it. And you might remember that happening, back in the late winter or early spring. It was somewhere in there. But, a lot of things happen, and we could talk about Mueller and, his actions to bring down the Republic and bring down Trump. But there are some other investigators who are saying that that's not what's really going on, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and say it here because there's enough on it out in the internet now that, I'm certainly not exposing anything at this point. Do I totally believe what I'm about to tell you? I don't know. We're going to have to watch the fruits of this thing and see what happens, okay? But basically they're saying that Trump brought in Mueller, and I would imagine it went something like this. Look, Mueller, I'm acting out as Trump now. Look, we already know about Uranium One. We already know about the Clinton Foundation. We already know about all the Russian collusion baloney and who's really behind it and who's really done it. Here's all the evidence. Now, here's your choice. You can either play ball with me or you can go down with the rest of them. What would you like to do? Do you see how that would have worked? Okay, yeah, either do it or you're fired, and then when this thing gets all, wrapped up and everybody's swept under the rug, you're going to go to prison like everybody else. That's how I imagine it went. I might be off in a little bit, but that's kind of where we are, I think, on this thing with Mueller. So, in the last, 2 weeks or so, most of you might know that there have been over 800 sealed indictments filed around the country. Over 800. We thought it was a lot when it was over 200. Well, now it's 800. Well, would there be that many people? I mean, unless Mueller and his team are working still with the Clintons and they're going after patriots, claiming that they're Russian operatives, which would be really hard to prove even in a grand jury. It just couldn't happen. I don't see that, because where are they going to get this evidence? That doesn't exist. I think Mueller's already said that Trump wasn't colluding with anybody. Okay, so you get the background. Okay, Roy, can I ask you a question? Okay, I didn't want to stop, but I'll do one. Okay, but then I got to get through this, and then I'll answer questions. Okay, because this is really important. I don't want to tie anybody up. It's really pretty late. Matter of fact, let me bend down here. I want to make sure I'm not going to go over too much. See, it's already late now. Oh, you're very okay. Aisling, is that how you say it? Aisling Shields. Okay, thank you for your understanding. I appreciate that. Okay, so we've gotten through the. I wish I will write it out as quick as possible. Don't do that until I'm ready, because I can't catch those things going by too fast. Okay, I'm a little slow on the draw. All right, so now we've got the Mueller situation and the 800 indictments that are out there. Trump's been gone, and there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the lines, which I can attest to. There's been a lot of tracking, a lot of eyes on, those kinds of things, and a lot of people that have been involved in this didn't really know why. They were just told, look, go keep track of this, go do this, go do that. Get on 4chan and do this, go talk on Twitter and do this. And, it's been a really massive operation, but outside of the normal channels of the government, because the government is so compromised, so many, both in the DOJ, the DOD, the CIA, the FBI, the Congress, the Senate, the Supreme Court, probably not so much. They're just a bunch of old batty dingbats there. But at any rate, not all of them, but quite a few of them. But you get my drift, okay? So, getting back to the 4chan. There's been all this information, these rhetorical Socratic questions that were being asked, and the people that have been watching this, a lot of us, I just got on it maybe, I don't know, not very long ago, and that was basically because of Tracy Beans, if any of you know who she is. She kind of, I don't know even how I got lassoed into that, but there was something else that I saw, and there was some kind of a link to her, and then I went, oh my gosh, what's this? And that's when I found out about it, okay? I didn't know that it was being put out. That's the thing. I didn't know that at all in the public. I thought it was all being quiet. But apparently, because Trump is a spiritual guy, at least that's the way he comes across, I think he understands the idea of prayer and the individuals all being collectively, thinking and watching, the watchers. And it talks about that in the scriptures, about making sure that you watch. That you're aware, that you don't have your head in the sand. So the more people that are out looking at this, that adds to the strength, at least the spiritual strength, and in the long run, being able to, and this is the important part, being able to disseminate this information so that when this thing happens, there are people out there that can say, look, we saw this coming, this is the way it is, this is what's really happening, and you just, ease up, it's not going to be as bad as you think. This is a reset of the constitutional republic, not the takedown of it. Okay, so that's kind of why this Q thing happened and the way it's been going about. I don't know if I explained that very well, but it's kind of like getting it out there in such a way that people are asking the questions. The guy isn't giving the questions, the Q team isn't giving the questions or the answers, and some of them they kind of do, but most of it is getting you to think about it. So, it's kind of like, and I hate to say this, but I'm not PC, and I don't mind being called a sexist. It's not that I like women, but women and men are different, right? And you always let your wife think it was her idea, right? Of course, she's doing the same thing. She said, "Oh, I'm gonna make it so my guy thinks it's his idea, right?" You know all about that, right? Yeah, Lauren plus. Yes, okay. Same kind of thing, okay? It's just a mind game, but sometimes it's necessary. So there have been all these questions, and I'm not going to go through all those. I want to jump to about, a few days ago. We've known that rogue elements of the intelligence community have been following, obviously, Trump, okay, because they want to take him down. We heard Clapper say that. We heard Brennan say that. We heard Gore say that. And we heard Phil Mudd from the CIA, who is now a contributor, I guess, on CNN or MSNBC, one of those. He used to be a big head in the CIA. They're all saying how they're going to take down Trump. And we've heard other undercurrents that Trump would be gone by December. Apparently Jeb Bush said that. A lot of this has been going on, and you can see it. You can see every day. The thing now with McConnell, right? You know, this whole deal with Roy Moore in Alabama. You know, I don't want to get into whether he did this thing with this underage girl or not. This happened in the 70s. I'm not saying that exonerates him, but things were different in the 70s than they are now. Even going to a mother and saying, hey, can I date your daughter? You know, I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but I'm saying it's kind of out of the way now when we have things like Menendez going. That's an absolute situation that's bad. You know, the Lolita Express and all that business. So the real thing with Moore is, of course, to keep him from taking a Senate seat so that they can get somebody in there that they can work on ousting Trump or blocking his agenda and that kind of thing. Why do I bring Roy Moore in? Because that shows you how this thing is operating behind the scenes where you may not understand all the situation that's going on. Hence, now back to Q and 4chan. So, we were told about a week ago that the operators were out and they were operating. Pray for them because they are in harm's way. Who are the operators? I could expound on that, but I'll leave that for your perusal, and you can kind of figure it out, okay? So this is what happened, and I'm going to pick up my computer here because I've got my notes on here. This is what happened, okay? So they see all these things happening. You know, the cabal, let's call it the cabal. Clinton, Podesta, Brennan, Clapper, Mudd, Soros, you know, McCain, you know, we could name a lot of names here, and that's not what's really important. We'll just call them the cabal. They see this news starting to tighten. They thought that, you know, they were on the winning side, and now all of a sudden they're realizing, hey, we've stepped into a trap. This is, and I heard one guy say this, and I like quoting other people. I don't want you to think all this is my idea, because it certainly isn't. I read where one guy said that this was the sting operation of all history that's happening right now. Let's pray and hope that that happens. So the cabal sees this noose tightening around us, right, or tightening around them, and so they've got to strike back, and they've done it in different ways. The Saudi Arabian hit on October 1st, right? That was kind of that, along with the first shots fired in the Saudi Civil War coup on American soil, and I've talked about that on a couple of occasions. The running gun battle. It was all a mess. It wasn't just part of the Saudi thing. It was put into place by parts of our intelligence community, the FBI, the CIA, etc., to send a message to Trump that he really can't control things, that they're really going to take charge. Okay, and it's been that fight for a long time. A lot of us that have looked at this have understood that the CIA and the NSA have been at odds. I don't include the FBI anymore because the FBI is the CIA. Matter of fact, I put out a little thing today. I think I've mentioned it before. CIA equals MSM equals FBI equals Hillary Clinton equals ISIS equals Obama, etc., right? Okay. So with all of that, and man, I sure can take a long time to explain things. Let's go to November 10th. And this is Scott Anthony that picked this up. Well, before I tell you that one, let me go to the thing here that happened with Q. And it was brought up there and in a couple of other places. And it was in the New York Times yesterday. And it was called The Security Breach. It was November 12th. Security breach and spilled secrets have shaken the NSA to its core. Now, when you read this thing, it's obviously a hit piece on the NSA. And I could get into some details on that. But if, in fact, Rogers is now assisting Trump, it would make sense that the CIA, which has infiltrated the NSA, it's infiltrated everything. And that's why the Q said that there were CIA rogue intelligence that were watching what was going on 4chan, okay, with this thing with Trump. So they definitely have some CIA in NSA, but they had a core group, and that's this group called Q, I think. And one of the members of it, I think, would really surprise you. At least that's how I've come to it. I've given Tracy Bean some information on that. She's probably going, oh, geez, Potter, you're way out in left field. But I don't think so. I think that it's very possible what I told her, and I'm not going to say it here for other people's protection, okay? Not that I know something somebody else doesn't, but it just goes along with what Q was revealing, okay? So November 12th, this thing was written in the New York Times, which of course is a CIA mouthpiece, just like the Washington Post, with that heading that the NSA had a security breach and spilled secrets that have shaken it to its core. Now this was one of the quotes. You can read down through the article, but this is one of the quotes, and I'm gonna interpret it for you. It said, quote, America's largest and most secretive intelligence agency has been deeply infiltrated. Now, I tweeted this out earlier, and I put in after the quote, I said, message, exclamation mark, bluff, question mark, exclamation mark, attack, question mark. Yes, this was a warning to Trump that even though he's using this Q group and the NSA to take down the CIA and the cabal, that he wouldn't succeed. It's a warning, okay? It's an attack saying you're not going to be able to do this. You think you can, but we've infiltrated this great intelligence agency, and they call it that. It says the most secretive intelligence agency. That's the NSA, right? And so they're saying we're already in there. We know everything that's going on, okay? They don't, but this is a bluff. It's very similar to, doing a feint in the military or pretending like you have more troops than you really do to scare the enemy. That kind of a thing. So that was the first thing that happened. It is definitely an attack on Trump, and it's a message saying you're not going to succeed in this. This is all underneath the surface. I had to pour the salt. Notice Q posts. Okay, I missed that. I'm so sorry. Obviously, somebody's not too happy with Q, and I understand that. But now some other things are happening, and I want to point this out. Now, Scott Anthony today, he remembered an article that he read, because we're recognizing that these are coded threats by the CIA against Trump. So this other one came out on the 10th of November, and that's before the one I just told you about. And it was in USA Today, 10 November. It said, analysis, or USA Today analysis, war with China, ? Trump and U.S. seek to avoid collision course. Well, we all should know by now that the Clintons and the whole cabal in the United States, the whole elite thing, has been working with China for years, giving them our technology, making them most favored nation status. And now the CIA, who of course is writing this or telling USA Today what to write, right? So CIA says to USA Today, make China look like an enemy now, because Trump it looks like he's making some headway in getting them on his side, getting them on board, which apparently he even said. So now they've got to drum up the drama again and the conflict. So this is all about war with China now and trying to avoid it, right? Well, in the article, listen to this. Remember, in Vegas, and I'm not saying it was the Maverick helicopter company that was involved in this, but that's been kind of the big thing going out there right now, that it's somehow associated with a Maverick helicopter, the assaults in Vegas, okay? Again, I'm not saying they did it, but I'm saying it's been linked with the name, all right? However you want to interpret that. Obviously, I'm being careful here for obvious reasons. But the point is, the Maverick helicopter idea was drawn into our investigations about what's going on there. Well, in this USA Today article, 10 November, where it says, analysis, war with China, Trump, U.S. seeks to avoid collision course, down at the bottom of the article, it ends with this phrase, and the U.S. president prides himself on being a maverick. And as Scott Anthony pointed out, how often do you hear the term maverick used these days? So these two phrases that I've read you, one out of the New York Times, one out of the USA Today, I think, and Scott thinks, Scott found the one on USA Today, we think that those are coded messages of warning, an attack basically on Donald Trump, okay, and what he's doing. Now, speeding ahead to today, okay, and I don't know who out there is watching this, okay. 4chan today, Monday, 11/13/17, at 11:05 04:46, and these are UTC times, okay? At least I think that one is. Maybe somebody changed that. But anyway, it was earlier today. Number 149-262-582. This is on 4chan, okay? I tweeted this out a few minutes ago, and I'm just going to read what I tweeted out, okay? I hope this is for real. This is me talking. I hope this is for real, that it is a warning to the cabal from Q and Trump's team. And this is what it says. I'll quote now what this 4chan information said. And if this isn't military intelligence lingo, I don't know what is. Okay? Everybody now in the cabal is reacting. They're trying to do things. We've heard about planes trying to take off, planes being intercepted, people being picked up at their homes. We've been hearing a lot of stuff underneath the surface. Listen to this. This is from the Q team. Okay? Quote, distress calls to others will do you/family no good at this stage. We know where you/the family are at all times and can hear you breathing. Signed by Q. And then with a code, okay, underscore capital D7G, upper arrow, dash underscore percentage 19er Foxtrot Zulu Bravo, all in uppercase, then X is an X-ray, underscore, and then the word decline. Folks, if that isn't for real, it's from somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. Okay? So they've just said to the cabal, we've got you all pegged. We know your routines, we know where you're going. We know what you do. You can't escape. You can't, what did he say? You can't send out a distress call that's going to work because whoever you could call to answer you, they're in the same boat you are. Do you see how this is going? That's what we've got here. I think it's happening right now. Remember the other day I did a video and I said Trump is acting right now. He's acting right now. Despite the fact I get upset with him, especially on this Las Vegas thing. Again, I give him the benefit of the doubt. As bad as that is and what I'd like to do, he is probably trying to get, you can either go after the drug dealer on the street. Not that I'm not really for drug laws, but this is it's just an explanation. You can get the little dealer on the street, or you can go for the big kingpin, right? So if I were him, knowing the type of enemies that he has now, or at least it seems to be that they're enemies, they're all very powerful. He's got to take the powerful people out. Now, and I wrote a book, and some of you might be interested in this and may have read it. It's called The Crimson Thread, The Struggle to Become Jesus During the Revolt Against Rome. I wrote it back and published it in 2006. It's on Amazon. I've talked about it before. Not that you need to go buy it. That's not my point. My point is that in that book, I'm talking about this very same type of thing. It's one of the I guess you could say one of the subplots. And it's about the rebels, the revolutionaries in Judea in the first century, figuring out how to get rid of the Roman Empire. And they come up with a plan to actually go after the heads, people like Pilate and Herod and that kind of thing. In other words, cut off the head of the snake and the body will go away, right? Same kind of principle. Well, I think Trump may have read my book, or he just knew this from what he did. And I'm just kidding. Of course, he didn't read my book. But, he understands the principle that you take out the head. And most of you would know that. When you're in a war, you look for command and control, and that's what you take out, because that's really where the brain of the fight is, right? I mean, the other units can still, reestablish themselves and reconstitute, but you always try to go after the command and control. So it only makes sense that that's what Trump is doing. So this warning went out that their distress calls to each other are not going to help you. You're already going down. All right, I want to go ahead and I'll open it up for questions now. I'm going to turn this off, okay? Hold on just a second. Don't go away. I unplugged my computer here so I could bring it over, so I don't want to lose the power. Okay. All right, back. All right. So, that's kind of what I wanted to present. It's probably a little complicated, but I think if you can go back and look at this if you want to spend the time, and it'll probably make more sense to you. It really has been a group effort. A lot of us have been at this, doing as much as we can to make it. Ryan Bundy was released, but that's only pre-trial, right? It's a pre-trial release. I wish it was that they had dismissed the case. That's what Sessions should have done. Is told his corrupt DOJ there in Vegas and all over actually, and the FBI, that this was a bum rap on the Bundys from the beginning, and they need to release them all. But I'm glad to hear that he could be with his family. He certainly deserves it. He's a good man. Okay, so thank you for letting me know. Of course, I've been involved in all this other stuff. So there we are. I'll start looking at this, seeing if we have any questions. Who was the HVT at the Vegas operation? Well, we're pretty sure it was a Saudi royal of one sort or another, number one. We've also heard that somebody from the executive branch was probably on McCarran Airport. Okay, all right. That's all being held under wraps, but I mentioned it today in a Periscope and in a live YouTube stream that situation in Tropicana is very telling, because as Scott Anthony and others have pointed out, those were not American trained soldiers or law enforcement that went through Tropicana. It's real obvious. Okay, it's real obvious. So there was this running gun battle through the city. So the HVT, definitely somebody in the Saudi royal line, most likely the Prince Salman. I keep calling him Sultan. Salman. Or somebody like that, somebody on that side. The other side, who knows? But apparently somebody from the U.S. executive branch, from the office of the president, was there as well. It could have been Trump himself. We have heard rumors of that. I don't know that. Certainly the guy by the name of Paddock, there's a guy laying on the floor right in that room in floor 32. It's not him. It's not the real Paddock. Or if that is the real Paddock, the other one that they have all the pictures of is not. Very likely he became a HVT because of the foul up on this arms deal, that was apparently going down. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at now. The FBI and the Las Vegas Police Department, Sheriff Lombardo, of course, are basically they're using the concept. They're trying to excuse what they're doing here in the interest of national security. But what that means is to hide the crimes of those in the intel community. Okay, that's what they mean by that. So until somebody can crack that egg, we'll just keep bringing the information out and get it dispersed as much as we can, so that they know that they can't hide this. Okay, that's what we're up to. That was a long explanation. I'm sorry. Let's see what other questions we have here. Let's see. But who were they? You mean the roll bar? You mean the high value targets? Well, like I said, they were Saudis on the side of Prince Salman, and possibly it could have been Pence. It could have been Trump himself. It could have been, who knows? From that point, I wouldn't know. Miss Bry, I don't think you realize how many people love you. Mossad was definitely involved. Yes, I hate this. Yes. There's no difference between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and I've been talking about that in some vague terms for a long time, but that's real. Yeah, the Crown Prince, bliss. There's really no. It's a Mutt and Jeff routine there. Okay, they're actually the same people. Okay, the truth will kill the tourist dollars. Well, I don't know. My daughter went there. One of my daughters went there. 2 weeks after the incident? I couldn't believe it. So I don't know if it will or not. Yeah, I read that today. Israel and the Saudis are the same people, and I've been saying in the Crimson Thread. In the Crimson Thread, the book I wrote, I explain that out. I don't call them Saudis in the book because they didn't exist at that time as Saudis. But that's who they are. They're Edomite. They're basically related to King Herod and the Herodian line. They're actually Arabic Jews, for lack of a better term. That's what they are, and they're all the same. Yeah, that's right. I think that was Bliss that said that. That's exactly right. And I'm not saying that from some hypothetical thing. Believe me, I'm an expert in it. Okay, I've got the credentials to prove it. Why did they land on the roof to pick up the Saudi prince? I'm not sure that that's who they picked up there. There's a lot of that swirling around right now. Those kind of details we're still not sure of. We're looking at the actions that happened on the ground and in the air that lend credence to the, well, we already know this isn't a lone wolf coming. There's no way that that was the case. No way at all. Just the thing that happened in Tropicana, which everybody saw, proves that. Okay, absolutely. Oh, and the helicopter. That was the other thing that came out that Tucker Carlson pointed out. There's no sound in it, so, but you do see the ground debris being blown around in front of the camera, and it was a big question of, well, where's the helicopter if it's doing that? Why are these people just casually walking by like it's on a Sunday walk, and then a few of them will run, and then they drag that poor person that got shot over behind the car, and then some other people hide behind another car. If there was a helicopter there, I'd be concerned about it. But the point is that whether it was firing or not, it's not shown on the radar, and more importantly, they never talked about it at the briefings. They never admitted that anything but one police helicopter was in the air. So, there's some problems with that. Guns went down, not up. Yeah, I'm not sure what you meant by that, but okay, let's see what we got here. The floodlights of the LV concert stage lighting up the targets. Yeah, there are a lot of questions on this, and of course we're not going to get answers to that. Oh, Ron Jeremy, you're asking me about my butthole again. And I already told the joke that Sam Kinison said. So, yeah, you can go have your fun. Navy SEALs kill a Green Beret. Yeah, that shows you there's a problem in the military. People are corrupted there, and it's really bad right now. Obama purged a lot of the good folks. Anybody who felt, who was really true to the Constitution, they got rid of or tried to. All right. I have another possible false flag for Roy so he can give us his take on it. Brandy Monica. Okay. Trump is playing their game and winning. Yeah, and again, I'm hard on him, but I figure that's the way it has to be. Sarah, maybe, you may not be wrong about that, because very likely, I didn't see who actually said that, but very possible. I know for a fact CIA was Mesquite, Nevada, October 2016. Yeah. This was a plan going on for a long time. Field McConnell and Dave Hawkins. I've never met Dave. I have talked to Field McConnell on the phone, and I've been interviewed by him, as a matter of fact. It was a few years back, but I was. Is Q Trump? No, I don't believe that, and I think the people that are looking at it are pretty sure that that's not the case. Trump doesn't really have the training for this stuff. In my own personal opinion, and I'm not going to give you all the names that I know of, but one would certainly be Flynn. And then Tracy Bean said, yeah, but this guy's on Air Force One with Trump. He's taking pictures from the plane. Yeah, that might be true, but that's not actually the guy who's doing it. You see, this is a team effort. Like I told Tracy, it's at least 2 or 3 on the inside who are actually doing this, and Trump, it just tells him, how he wants it to. In other words, he's the commander, so he gives the commander's intent. And this works in the intelligence community this way too. He gives the commander's intent. He says, now you guys work out the details. Well, geez, you get somebody like Flynn out there who can do all this, all this manipulation and yeah, Able Danger's for real, and do all this stuff and then do all these codes and things. Absolutely. Am I still convinced 100% that it's not a LARP? The proof is in the pudding. I've said that before, and we'll see what the fruits are. By their fruits you shall know them. And the point that Q said on this is the same thing, basically, is that he said, or they said, you'll be able to take this graphic that you have of all of our questions and all of our information, and you'll be able to look back and see that it was actually happening. Okay? Yeah, I think they're the real white hats. Yeah, I think so. Disco time travel. All right, let's see. We all need to pray for President Trump. I agree. I do it every day. And let's see. All right. What is the 4chan website? Well, I don't know that it's just that. I would go on Google or Startpage or one of those search engines and just type in 4chan. And you could type in actually more. They could type in 4chan Q Clearance Patriot, and you'll see some things come up, and you'll be able to find. 4chan is very hard to navigate through. It's not easy. Anybody can post on it, and so you have to basically go fishing. You have to go through there and find the information that you're looking for and then extract it. And that's what Tracy Beans has done, or people that are working with her, and they've done a very good job, as have others. I have not done that. I go fishing. I want to see it myself in its actual context. So I don't know what Beans's credentials are. There's she's a newbie on the independent scene, YouTube and Twitter. All I can say is that her information seems to be very good. She seems to be very honest. So I just go with that at this point. Okay, she's a very intelligent person, extremely intelligent as far as I can tell, and so I hope that she is on the good side, and so far so good. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yes, that's true. We're talking about the Fast and Furious thing. Sorry, I didn't. Do you follow George Webb? I'm aware of what he's doing. Let's put it that way. I don't check him out every day. That's his thing. Like the LV. Remember, I said in one of my videos we should all take a lane, because we can't possibly keep track of everything and do something about it at the same time. And that's what I did for a number of years here. And then I finally decided, when this thing happened in Vegas, I needed to focus my efforts on that. That would be my lane of responsibility for right now. And so, yeah, Webb speaks his own language. He's intelligence background, no doubt about it. Yeah. Yes. Somebody asked if the CIA tried to triangulate Trump's position of Air Force One. Yes, they did. That's what happened with his whole Twitter account and all of that. Yeah, that's exactly what was going on. That was another attack on Trump by the CIA, and he knew it. His people told him that's who's doing it. So the thing that surprised me was he stood up there with Pompeo, and he said, he trusts the heads of the intelligence agencies, and I blew a gasket. I don't know if I could trust Pompeo or any other head of any intelligence agency, except at this point for possibly Admiral Rogers, from what we've heard with Trump with Trump working with him. Yes, they didn't like Flynn because he knew all the pedophile information, all the Clinton Foundation business, all the real collusion, not just with the Russians, but with the Ukrainians, with the Chinese, the North Koreans. Some of that came out here in the last few days. Who runs North Korea, who really runs North Korea. That's going to shock a lot of people if that turns out to be true. Roy, do you read emails via YouTube mailbox? I've gotten away from looking at the comments. I will look at my private message board there on YouTube on occasion. I'm not very good at it. I don't do it regularly. But that's if you're on YouTube and you want to send me a private message, do that, and I'll try to remember to look at it. Okay. Yeah, both Clinton and McCain were wearing boots to hide a bracelet, an ankle bracelet, or did they both hurt themselves? I don't know. There's a lot of this could be deception, disinformation. So, like I say, we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. The Campos Union handler was raided by the FBI. Yes, I do. I did hear that. I have a lot of suspicions about Campos himself. Of course, everybody does at this point. And who was really shot by that sheriff's round up there on floor 32. Yeah, who really got shot and why. All right, yeah, it'll be a great Christmas if they haul in Hitler. Yeah, absolutely. Are sealed indictments pedo-related? Considering how Trump wanted to go after these people, I would think so. I don't know that for a fact, but I would think so. We've also seen some other things come out in the last few days, which I won't go over with here. My dad was a command sergeant major at Fort Detrick, Maryland. I know about Fort Detrick, yeah. Jet streams to figure out where to drop chemical and biological weapons. Absolutely. Back in the 80s, as a matter of fact, one of my jobs as a nuclear chemical, actually it was in the late 70s, early 80s, was to do that same thing. I was a chemical accident incident control officer, and I was tracking jet streams and finding out where the fallout would go and things like that. So absolutely, yeah, for sure. We're not going to make it till Christmas. That might be true. At least not the way things are right now. Something's going to change one way or the other. We know that. What kind of guns do they use in Vegas? All military-style weapons. The bump stocks that were up in room 32 were just for show. Apparently there was one firing. As I listened to those, and there were a lot of gunshots, a lot of automatic fire all over the place, and single shots. But those shots that apparently were coming from the Mandalay itself, at least a certain set of them, it definitely sounded like a bump stock to me, because the rate of fire would change, and that would make sense as the weapon is bouncing back and forth. But that would make it very difficult to control at 400 meters, which is the distance from there to the festival. So yeah, it's very. There are people that say there were M249s. I would suspect that there was probably, if there, and I'm not saying there were, but it does sound like a belt-fed weapon at that point, or at least a selective fire weapon. They certainly would have been on the helicopters, and those guys, I'm still not sure that they were firing into the ground. Helicopter shooting from there when they're trying to be stealthy, it just doesn't make sense to me, unless they're chasing their high-value target, right? So I'm still not positive about that, but they certainly had M249s on those choppers, so that if a police helicopter that they didn't approve of came around, they just shot it out of the air, easy. And I don't know what Robin said, so I ricochet on the ground, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, there was a lot of that anyway. Okay, Hitler is dead. yeah, he probably died in the 50s, but they did take him to Argentina, and I could tell you a story about that. I had a military intelligence assignment in South America, and I'll just say, yeah, probably. Yes, I do see signs of the cabal in distress, Ruby. Absolutely, we do. A lot of their accusations, their counter accusations, they're trying to throw the heat off of them and throw it on somebody else. That's all part of it. Between Roy and Jake and some others, it's all correlates, and Hitler was in South America. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I could tell you a story where I could probably definitively make that link, but this isn't the time or the place. And there are other people that are going to do it very, very much more proficiently than I could. What does +++ mean? It's part of the code. If you look, okay, Q did a thing where he talked about a triangle, 3 sides of a triangle, okay? And he said that the Saudis were the +++, that the Rothschilds were the ++, and that Soros was the plus. And I'll just leave it at that. It's all code, and apparently according to Q, saying that Trump now has taken out the third part of the triangle, the Saudi side. And that was a great graphic. I forget who put that up, but basically Q drew it for us in the 4chan, by narrating it. He basically narrated it. Okay, let's see here. You were talking about Angela Merkel, I'll bet, being Hitler's daughter or granddaughter. Yeah, that's possible. They better get Soros, I agree. So Q is good. I still don't know that Bliss. All I know is that the information that he or that team have given out, you look back at it and you can corroborate a lot of it, knowing that intelligence, when you're doing this type of thing, you have to put out disinformation with the good information. Okay, it's part of the process of deception. They don't want to get caught, although the CIA probably, at least now, probably knows who they are. But, and they're in some danger from that, but I'm sure Trump and the team are ready for them. Yeah, Merkel does look like Hitler. I agree. What was taken out of the Saudi side? Basically the support. Okay, it's about money. The Saudis, as you know, were contributing to the Clinton Foundation, to Clinton getting reelected, to the whole cabal, right? The New World Order, all of that stuff. And so basically what Trump did when he went there and visited, he made a deal with King Salman and told him, look, we've got to do this. If you don't, we're just going to blow you off the map. We're tired of this thing with the terrorism. That's just the way it's going to be. So you can either play ball and basically, moderate, or you're going to pay the price. And so the king agreed to that, brought in, and I'm not saying one side's better than the other as far as the Saudis are concerned. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Trump played them off. And the other side was Talal, the guy that they arrested who owns those top floors in Vegas, okay? He was one of the many that they arrested there in Saudi Arabia. So that whole support structure, but for money, from Saudi Arabia to the cabal, including the paramilitary groups that were probably involved in this Vegas thing, they got their money taken away from them. Well, when you take something away from somebody like that, what usually happens? They retaliate, right? So there you go. That's the reason for the Vegas thing. One of the objectives. One of them. Okay, Sandy Hook school not operational. Yeah, there's a lot of proof of that. Who? Oh, good question, Lauren. Who will open the indictments? I think a more important question is when. You know, I mean, we're all sitting on the edge of our seats. Over 800 indictments out there right now, and maybe they're going to be a lot more. I mean, I guess I could visualize this thing going into the thousands. So when is a more important question, but the who would do it. You know, members of whoever these attorneys are that are filing these things, they'll go into court, you know, and they'll say, okay, judge, let's do this, and you know, we need warrants for these people's arrests, and that's when, you know, things will start happening. And apparently, this thing that I read here, I closed my computer down, where it said, you know, your distress calls won't do you any good. I think they're moving right now. That's the way I would bet. Okay, all right. Why don't you do some research before you laugh and make an ass of yourself? Hey, you guys, is Scott Benzak credible? I'll leave that to your perusal. Yeah, the Supreme Court's compromised. That's true. Who did Paddock meet in Arizona? I don't know, Kat. Do you know? I think he probably picked up one of the operatives. That'd be my guess. Somebody that had something to do, that he thought had something to do with the arms deal that he was working on, or the human trafficking deal. Okay, I might talk about that. Las Vegas is one of the big hubs for human trafficking. Okay, both children and women. Okay, pedophilia and all of that. It's a hub for it. I'm not going to name any specific places, but there are actually accesses from downtown Las Vegas to what used to be called Area 51. And let me put it to you this way. If you're going to transport children and women against their will, you're not going to use commercial transportation. You get my drift? All right, so something else has to be used. Contract aircraft, Paddock. CIA aircraft, military aircraft. You get my drift? Okay? All right. I know for a fact there are tunnels there. I know somebody who actually has worked in them. Okay? Yeah, they exist. They do. And part of the McCarran Airport there is a section of it, which some of you might know about, is for direct flights from there to Area 51. Okay. You're welcome, Carolyn. Thank you. You're in shock, Bliss. Was this a Zionist stop a la 9/11? Well, as I've said before, this is bigger than the Zionists. This is there are different power brokers in this whole thing, and that's why there's that triangle. You know, they're all not necessarily working together. Each one's trying to beat the other one out. You know, for the final coup de grace and the final power grab, right? But yeah, they're certainly a part of it. No doubt about that, you know, obviously. Okay. Yeah, they all have an agenda. Are there particle accelerators in Las Vegas? I don't know. Probably not in Vegas. Certainly probably up at Area 51, or what used to be Area 51. Very likely. Paradise. You know, they call it Paradise now. Can an FTC help with the insider trading? Oh, certainly they can. The insiders in the FTC, sure, they could be dirty. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, have you heard the radio transmission that said there's active shooters on the runway? Yes, that's not the case. That's how it was interpreted by the tower, because security forces for either, you know, Saudi royalty who were evacuating, or possibly, you know, the American executive branch that was there, or also it could have been one of the, and this is what I think, it was one of the rally points for the antagonists, the attackers in this thing, and they rallied there. And of course, they would have had their weapons, and then they loaded up. You know, they changed helicopters, changed aircraft, whatever, and then went to wherever they were meeting from there, which would have been several different places. Well, I know what you're talking about with Area 51 based in Utah. You're probably talking about Dugway Proving Ground. I haven't been out there in years, could be, but the place formerly known as Area 51 and the Nevada test site is still north of Las Vegas. It's still there. Okay. All right, we're coming up on an hour here. Scott, are you on there yet? Have you come up? I don't know much about Antarctica. I'll tell you who does. Go look at Jordan Sather, Destroying the Illusion, on YouTube and on Twitter. That guy, he does all the stuff I do, and he does the esoteric in that sense. I'm more based in, Old and New Testament, Judeo-Christian, Islam history and stuff like that. So, but he does some good job on Antarctica. Very good. That there are so many psyops going on that makes it difficult. Yeah, that's true, and there are. This is the time of, and I've said that. Obviously, look, you had Operation Mockingbird. You had NDAA 13 and 14 and 15, where they made it legal for the CIA to lie to us and propagandize us and even pay them for it with tax money. Yeah, this is the age of deception and betrayal. It absolutely is, which is another reason why I keep holding Trump's feet to the fire. Because if he wavers off that path, I've got to admit it to myself and say that. So if he stays on the path as best he can, good to go. Palantir, yeah. Geospatial intelligence and what Jade Helm was all about. And they're probably using a portion of that to round up some of these guys now. So it can be used for good things, but that wasn't the original intent. Believe me, that wasn't the original intent. It was to go after patriots. I don't know about that. That's a political decision on the Nuremberg trials for all of these cabal traitors and criminals. I don't know how that'll actually come out. Okay, are you a Jake Pauler? Okay, I must not know about what that is. Was that you, Scott, talking about that? You'll have to come back up. Sorry, folks, I just want to see if that was Scott telling me about the guy who I didn't bring his name up today on my videos, but I said that his interpretation of what happened in the Tropicana could not possibly have been correct. Let's see if that was him. He'll let me know it here. Marines can make arrests under certain circumstances. They can certainly assist, yeah, especially under certain orders, yeah. And I don't want to go into that here. But yeah, that can happen, especially if they have, the right people there to do it. They can assist if nothing else. Make sure that nobody runs. Let's see what's going on in Area 51 right now. I think it's basically just a human trafficking center, frankly. That's what it's about. And this goes along with scripture. As a matter of fact, I sent this out on Twitter the other day too. I talked about that in Isaiah. It talks about, and I've talked about this on other videos, that the pedophiles, what they do with children, it's talked about in Isaiah, and that they hide underneath the rocks. Gee, what's that temple that Epstein has on his island, where they do all these things underneath, right? They have a temple. Anyway, it's doing these horrible things to children. I don't even want to talk about it. And to women and children, primarily. And so their currency, as it talks about in Revelations, the currency of these evil people, there are a lot of different currencies that they use, commodities, gold, not the paper. The paper they make for us, but they use it to take real things from us, okay? You see how that works? Because it's a debt note. Our currency is a debt note, and so they collect on it by taking all our resources and that stuff as collateral. Do you see how that would work? What they deal in are these actual currencies, and one of the currencies is women and certainly children. Absolutely. So they merchandise, they trade in the souls of men. Yeah, that's what they do. They're evil. They are demons. In every sense of the word, they're demons. You look at Hillary Clinton, you're seeing a demon in the flesh, possessed or just a demon herself, one way or the other. Stephen Schuck, I don't know. I've got somebody I can ask about that who actually works at Mandalay, or not at Mandalay Bay, but services it, so he would know. So I'll ask him and find out. But my feeling is that Schuck is probably a handler of Campos's in some way. That's how I would view it, considering how they work together, supposedly there on floor 32. And going to DeGeneres at the same time. By the way, I'm still not sure if that was the real Campos. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. There's some problems in the profiles and in the overlays of the structures of the faces and other things between the Campos that they showed us back at the dinner in the steakhouse, and some other things as compared to the guy who shows up on DeGeneres. So I'm not even sure that's true. Okay, where is that Campos? Yeah, they're hiding him. They sure are. Trey Gowdy, he's off and on, off and on. I want to thank you for all your. Well, thank you. Do you feel that the farther down the rabbit hole you go, the easier it is for them to call you crazy? It's crazy, and I don't know how you mean that in a good way or a bad way. I'll tell you what's crazy. It's watching all this stuff happen and putting your head in the sand and pretending like it isn't there. Or, all right, you see it happening and you just go about your merry way. Because these people are out to kill you. And if you don't believe that, that's fine. That's not my problem. The Germans, with all the things that Hitler was doing, the Christian Germans, the ones that weren't, the ones that Hitler wanted to use, but all those people thought it wasn't going to happen, and then it did. So, I look at the signs. I was a trained military officer, a trained police officer. I look at what's going on. I watch the events. I watch the signs of the times. And when you see a duck waddling and quacking, and it's probably a duck. So you can make fun of it. I don't think that was necessarily your intent. Maybe you're just worried about the fact that I worry about people calling me crazy. No, because that whole thing's going to turn around here real quick anyway. And I'm not doing this for fun. I'm not doing this for fame. And I'm sure as hell not doing it for money. I'm doing it to get rid of the karma for having worked for one of the most evil governments in the world that has ever existed. Not that the Constitution's bad. The original idea was all good, but it got hijacked. Okay? They stole it from us. Okay. Let me see if there's anything. We're well over an hour here, another minute after. Let me just see. How can we stop chemtrails? Somebody at Trump's level is going to have to do that. I don't know what else can happen there. I wish we could. We just got to keep telling people about it as I do. And the really good one, of course, is I think it's called weatherwatch.org, I think is one. And of course, Pam Jones for Liberty. She does an excellent job. Excellent job. Are there really clones? Yeah, afraid so. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Surface-to-air missiles. I'm not sure what that's in regard to. Check your emails off YouTube. Okay, Bliss. All right. I'm not sure when I can get to it, but I'll do it. All right. World Health Organization, chemtrails, very likely. Was Kennedy or 9/11 the end of the innocence? Boy, that's a good question. Good question. Okay, yeah, Trump is being quiet about LV. That might be a tactical thing. Again, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm figuring that he's aware of what's going on, and he's just attacking it. I mean, that was the red line in the sand was what happened in Vegas. There's no negotiation now. Negotiation's over with. Okay. And that's why I put the thing out on Twitter again. I quoted 1 Samuel chapter 15, I think it is, where Saul, who was chosen by God to be the king of Israel, he wasn't the brightest, guy in the country, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but that's who God chose, right? And he anointed him, and he became king. And as he was in his position for so long, he got jealous and he got worried about his power rather than trusting God and just doing what's right. He started to do things on his own. He gave David some troubles. You know how all that went. Well, one of the things he did was the Amalekites. God told him that he needed to go and fight the Amalekites and destroy them because they were so wicked. And he was supposed to kill King Agag. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Agag, probably Agag. And remember, these kings are all associated with each other, right? You've got your kingdom over there. Yeah, we're buddies. We'll just kind of play the game and we'll have drinks together and we'll go out and do whatever we do every once in a while. You see, it's kind of a club, right? Well, he didn't want to take out his club fellow, Agag, right? And God told him he needed to execute him, and Saul didn't do it. So what happened to Saul? God took him away. He lost his kingship. He lost everything, his wives, his fortune, everything, and it was given to David. Well, my point to Trump was that if he doesn't act, if he doesn't execute to go after this cabal and actually put it down, put it under, because he doesn't want to hurt his friends' feelings, kind of like what he said about Clinton, about Hillary back a year ago this time, when he said, well, the Clintons are good people, I'm not really thinking about prosecuting. Remember when he said that? That was my first red flag. And then I thought, right then and there, I thought of King Saul not executing judgment against the evil and what the end result of that is. So Trump needs to act or he's going to be replaced. That's how I look at it. Okay, let's see. Trump's 1 degree of separation in various scandals worries me. Well, you can't go through life, I'm a perfect example. You can't be my age and not have some wrinkles and some rough spots, some things you did that you wish you hadn't. It's not what you were. And that's why this thing with Roy Moore is so important. I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm saying who you were and who you are now is a world of difference. And that's why in Christianity there's a thing called baptism, right? Forgiveness, repentance. Because people do change. Sometimes they go from the good to the bad, and sometimes they go from the bad to the good. So you look at their fruits in the present. You might have to go back a year or two, one way or the other, but certainly not 40. All right? That's ridiculous. All right. Is Trump a Jesuit? No, I don't believe so. No, he doesn't act like a Jesuit. No, not in any way, shape, or form. All right. Evil have... Let me see if there's anybody here. Matthew not made in China. I'm not sure what that means. Repent is the word of the day. Absolutely. This is the age of betrayal and deception. We all need to repent. Yes, absolutely. Ask God to help us through this because we're going to need it. Rebuilding the temple. Trump is real, but only human. Right, exactly, Phil. If that was Phil that said that. Exactly. Exactly. We're all just like that. The best we can do, we're going to fall short. That's just the way it is, right? So we just do the best we can. Who is the Antichrist? What is the Antichrist? It's going to throw that back at you. I told you about a month or two ago that Silicon Valley people want to worship AI as God. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah, Sophie Henson Robotics. Yep. And Saudi Arabia made her a citizen, or made that machine a citizen. Isn't that nuts? I got nudes of Roy. Oh, well, that's fine. I'm an open book. Send them out. I'm sure everybody will be very interested in them. Okay, that's fine with me. I have nothing to hide. I'm not blackmailable. Sorry. That's why the CIA didn't take me, because they couldn't find anything to blackmail me on. I'm an open book. When they did I was overseas. I was sent overseas after 9/11, and while I was over there, my security clearance was up for reinvestigation. You have every 5 years you have a reinvestigation of your background, right? And so the guys were trying to do my background investigation, but I wasn't here. I was overseas, and they were going around. I don't know why they didn't know I was over there. All they had to do is look it up on with the Army. But they went to some of my friends and said, "Where's Roy Potter?" And one of my friends is a police officer. I actually have a lot of police officer friends, and the investigator said, Roy listed you here as a contact so I could do this background investigation. And I had a top secret SCI clearance, okay, if you know what that means. And he said, we need to do this. Do you know where he is? And my police officer friend said, I know where he is. The question is why don't you know where he is? So he didn't even talk to him. He figured he was, bogus. But at any rate, the point is that they did my background investigation. I got back, and they came and they finished up with me and some other people, that they hadn't been able to talk to at that point. And despite all the stuff in my background, and there's a ton of it, I went through a lot of stuff back in the 80s, trying to find my way spiritually and stuff. A lot of things that, some people would say were bad, some people wouldn't care. But I think I'm being vindicated today for a lot of reasons, but I'm not even going to go on that. But basically they said, hey, one of my friends, when he was being asked in this investigation, my friend brings it up, my background, and the investigator says, all us guys are dogs. That doesn't bother us. So the point is that they already knew about me, and I'm not blackmailable. Okay, so that's the reason why the CIA doesn't want me, because they can't blackmail me. I think they wanted me to turn and to kind of be an informant, but I already told them I'm not going to even do that. I just won't do it. I just won't. From the concert venue. I don't know about that. I don't know. You think the sealed indictments will bring down the pedos? That's what we're hoping for. Yes, Lloyd, we'll do that for Sam, if anybody saw that. Oh, Leanna Potter, you first. Oh, great. We're probably related, Leanna. Kansas State University did a study of the Potter name many years ago, like, I don't know, 2 decades ago. And anybody who has that name by birth, in other words, they're not, assuming the name, legally, they're related. If you don't know that, yeah, go look at that up. Kansas State University did that study. I'm not sure why. Okay, Yellow Jacket uses pedo slang. Potter's Field. Yeah. Yeah, good quote, Jeff. And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, the NSA has always known about the pedos. Sure, absolutely. And the entire intel community has been designed to protect them. Isn't that crazy? So Potter was Valentino Rossi's coach in high school. Interesting. Okay. I think I'll do this for another 4 minutes, and then we're going to hang up. Yeah, right. Almost everybody in any real position in government has been put there because they could be controlled. Boy, these things go by quick. Razor Queen FEMA can't get us all. Yeah, that's true. You just have to say no. Anyone good left in the CIA? Very few. It would be my guess at this point. Yeah, very few. Dennis Hopper, Trump clone. Yeah, I don't know. Is the hammer ready to drop, Aaron? Yes, I believe it is. The CIA was never okay. I agree, Truth Freeze. Absolutely, I agree 100%. FBI, no, not even them. Only insofar as the FBI should have been used to investigate crimes within the federal government itself, but they used the Interstate Commerce Clause to apply it to crimes that occurred across state lines, and of course that just went hog wild. It went crazy, and now they're going crazy with the idea of conspiracy. They're trying to expand on a conspiracy is nothing more than agreeing with a bunch of people to go out and demonstrate against a policy of government. So it's out of control. The FBI and the CIA are trying to lock down, and the people that support them in the Congress and the government are trying to lock down everybody into a yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, a controlled environment 100% of the time. They're evil. They're evil, 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 and we can't let them do that. Yeah, from day one, CIA was corrupt. Okay, do you have any help besides us? No. Well, God. I'll just leave that there. Let's see. Everyone should read the Franklin cover-up. I was involved in the Franklin cover-up as far as investigating it. I think I've told you all that before, or at least some of you have probably heard me talk about that. I never met Senator John DeCamp, but we talked on the phone, and I supplied information to him about things that were happening in this section of the country. All right. Tank movements in CONUS. I think things are happening. Yes, I think things are moving. Trump said it would be a different world. Pardon me, my nose itches. Trump said that when he returned, it would be a different world than from the one he left. So, tonight's got to be the night. I thought it was going to be either the 8th or the 11th, but the point is that things are moving. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, I said we were going to end this, so it's time. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thank you for all your help. Give Scott Anthony a look on YouTube and on Twitter. At Scott Anthony on Twitter and Scott Anthony on YouTube. Tracy Beans on YouTube and Twitter. Jordan Sather at Destroying the Illusion. Shepard Ambulis at IntelliHub. Jake Morphonios with End Times Reporting, I believe is what his organization's called. Matt Couch and America First Media. And I could name a lot of others, but those are the ones that come to mind real quick. Wonderful, good people that believe and love the Constitution of the United States of America, and they love God, and they love mankind. Okay? So we'll leave it at that. Thanks, everybody out here.